Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey guys, this is Halo Marquise. Oh, hold me. It's broken. There we go. Whew. How's everyone doing tonight? Tony, my love, Lisa, very nice seeing you guys. My name is Halo Marquise. This is Alchemy 101 birthday special. I'll fix my mic real quick. Guys, let me know if you're hearing me okay. So today, December 4th, guys, it's my birthday. It's I tell everyone live every day like it's your birthday, but once a year you get to grasp onto this amazing remembrance of all the different, aspects, steps along the way, the things that have taken its toll on your being while you've been on this planet, and what's turned you into you. Right? It's amazing. So thank you, my love. Thank you. Marisol, thank you. See you. And so this is a pre-recording show. If you are joining me tonight on artistfirst.com, all of my previous shows are archived, but I wanted to do the show this week on my birthday. I celebrate and get excited a lot more than most people do. And so I thought what would be an interesting show to do, just because I've had so many people ask me different parts about my life, different things that impacted me. And so I figured on my birthday for Alchemy 101, why not do a birthday special about my 38 trips thus far around the sun in our current solar system, and what my time, what really feels like, and what I've experienced closer to, roughly 172 years as the wizard would have it. Both here and multiversally, of course, and we'll kind of get into that tonight. But so if this is the first time coming on the show, my name is Halo Marquise. I'm the founder, CEO of a biotech company called Mistech. I also run the show Alchemy 101. I'm currently building a Jedi school to reteach alchemy and some amazing disciplines. But all around, I'm just, another one of these people out here trying to save the world, doing it in my way. And everyone that's helped along the journey, thank you guys so much. And if you're tuning in, please take time to go check out some of the other shows. You can find most of our podcasts on orderofalchemy.org. Okay, but so that's a quick little intro. I have been celebrating all day, so don't mind me and my cider as we go through this little trip tonight. So again, thank you guys if you are here on the show. So let's see where to start. I guess right at the beginning. Thank you, Mother. Everyone, my mother's in the chat room. Please feel free to say hello to one of the most amazing people that I know. Obviously, she brought me in. Now, so I was born December 4th, 1980. Okay. Now, my mom will explain this to you, and you guys, if you're new to the show, know that we talk about metaphysics and understand the sacred geometry and the Tesla theory of the numbers like 3, 6, 9, some really important things, right? So when I was born, Mike, thank you. My wife got me this shirt. Thank you. She always finds me good things to go with my Pharaoh attire. I love it. Cool Slims, welcome. So I was brought in about 2:04 a.m. Okay. Now, my mom will tell you it took 36 hours to get my being into this vessel from wherever I was coming from before. 36 hours. Now, I like to joke with my mother and say it just takes that amount of time to get that much greatness into this plane, of course, obviously. But even when I was, at the moment I was born, those numbers 3 and 6 were already right there. They happened to add up to 9. So I'm already feeling like I'm in a good place day one I get here. And thank you guys so much for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it so much. Thank you guys. Thank you. And so, coming in with that type of predetermined things, I didn't necessarily always know what that means. But as I got to where I'm at now, I'm just going to kind of take you guys along the journey of what molds a human into a sheep, into a hunter, into a wizard, into a preacher, all these different things, guys. We come here, we know from before we come, we have a predestined, predetermined point of landing and point of origin and lessons we're supposed to be here for along the way, but all that gets wiped before we get here, right? So I landed in this mixed vessel of my mom's side coming from Norway, some Swede, some German, but mostly Viking, right? That's my mom's side. And then my father's side, until recently, I just knew he was black, because back then we didn't always know what our ancestry was or even have the option, on most people, your black history goes as far back as a boat. And then after that, you don't really know. So what was interesting though, right? And bless my mother for this, just no discriminatory bones in her at all. Though there was some in the family, unfortunately, and that's okay. Brian, thank you. Jackie, thank you guys. And it might get a little real for a minute, a little serious, but guys, just know that I'm very thankful for everything I'm going to get into, but I want you guys to understand that the molding process has to be something that you want and something that you want to embrace, but you have to be looking for it, right? So it's not always easy, and more times than not, it's going to be very difficult and probably painful in a lot of ways to get you into the place that you need to be, right? So I was born in Quincy, Illinois, right, which is this very small urban town on the Mississippi. So it's got a lot of crime and drugs and so on, a lot of in-home violence, things like that. And so if you guys ever have a chance to go back and watch the movie about the Jacksons, I'm not saying we quite had it quite to that degree, but it was definitely rougher than a lot of people could imagine by far. But these crazy things and traumatic things I saw first just with that really started molding me at a young age of things that I just didn't want to see for my kids and things I didn't want to have within that. But because of my mother, my grandparents, just amazing loving force, we just moved and kind of rolled with it, no pun intended. But and that was just within the home. Okay, now check this out. I mostly grew up in this little town called Cherokee, Iowa. Okay, now when I say this, and it's really important that I express this in these terms, because again, please not out of pity or feel bad or anything, but just again understand the molding and understanding how the environment really impacts us, right? Because when we first come here, right, on your birthday, you arrived with a certain level of love and morality and intelligence in your life, and then your environment kind of transformed that, whether good or bad, into where you are now. And a lot of times, especially with the alchemic process, as we like to talk about, you have to get down to the base of what you're working with before you can really understand what's going to catalyze and what's going to become what, right? So you have to understand that the good and the bad, those are all parts of things that are going to set the path in motion for all your potential universes, right? And all the places that you could get into, right? Robert, hello. All right. Thanks. All right. Robert, sorry, I wasn't sure what that said there for a second, but welcome to the channel. So, and when I say multiverse, guys, the picture I'm using, and if you're with me on Artist First, I just have this amazing picture of the multiverse behind me. And guys, the multiverse is a very real thing, even within quantum physics, and essentially, and we'll get into that another show, and I have other shows on this. You have time to go check them out. But what will happen is, every decision that you make will branch off into a different potential reality, and they're all happening at the same time. You're just being able to kind of glean where your current conscious and focus is at. All right. Again, that's for another show. So anyways, where I grew up in Cherokee, and I'm sure there's, more southern areas that had it much worse than what I'm going to say. But again, for where I grew up, my house was the black neighborhood. Right. And so when I first came to, my last name was Snoddy, Snoddy. Right. So imagine being in a little, Jackie, me too. It had to creep me out a little bit. Sorry, guys, we're talking in the chat room at the same time, so don't mind me. I'm all over. It's good. But so my last name was Snoddy, single mom, house was the black neighborhood, and I was the oldest of three brothers. So when I grew up, I got into a lot of fights. And guys, get this is crazy. And just know I don't hold grudges, and we don't need to point fingers or nothing like that. But like even one of my cousins at one point got a swastika tattooed on his arm, So when I say it was serious, it was serious. Like, this was just a thing. And a lot of people might not know that that is something I would even deal with, because, you know, my skin tone's definitely gotten lighter since I lived in Arizona. I was too scared to go in the sunlight, lost a lot of the pigmentation. But back then I was dark. I had a fro, the whole nine. So it was interesting growing up that way, and seeing family members I had that really only saw my family as family, and other ones that also saw it as, well, they're the black sheep, literally, not just figuratively. And I even remember going to places where we'd spend the night and get served different cereal. Like, it was that different. So imagine being here as a child, right? And there's things way, way worse than that. But even that, and going, man, why is this person that's supposed to care about me treating me different, right? And we grew up, dude, I'm telling you, it was crazy, right? And we grew up going to a Presbyterian church, right? And I mean church every Sunday. Excuse me, Bible study, you know, all of it, all the time. So it was interesting growing up in the church to a degree, but then not being treated or considered to be on the same level as another human being that's family. Like, it was really, really different. And so it went from being in one type of household that was very violent, because again, that was just the upbringing, probably all the way back to that boat I was talking about before. That's all you know. So I don't try to justify it, but I don't try to hold or to point fingers either, right? So that's just, we repeat the routines that we have until someone chooses to break it. So that was my upbringing. It was either go to a place that was overly violent but non-racial, or go to a place where the physical violence wasn't there, but the emotional and psyche trauma was there. So it was one or the other. Meanwhile, I just had this amazing woman putting herself through school, trying to raise 3 boys that, trust me, guys, you think I'm all over the place now. You just see me before I was toned down, just doing everything she could to make sure we had everything that we needed. And sometimes that meant running, and sometimes that meant it meant a number of different things. But once I was old enough to really go back and look at it and study some psychology and so on, it really dawned on me that all these traumatic events, right, all of these like really terrifying things you see in movies that I lived through, these were things that were the building blocks of my resilience. They were the building blocks of my understanding. They were my building blocks to make me be able to laugh the racism off, and to be able to laugh the idiocy off, right? And so what happened was, because I didn't really sleep, right? And we'll get into that also, since it's the birthday special. We got lots to talk about. It's going to be fun. I was always awake all the time. So the things I studied, the things I was thinking about, the things my mind was at. And guys, I'm telling you, I know a lot of people out there right now are going to be able to relate to this, that back when you were in school, there was just not a group, a clique, or whatever it was, that it was just home. Right. There was just something that was offset. And the people that did feel that they had their clique, I would even challenge a lot of you that there were parts of you that you had to hide or not be the way that you want to be really you, just so you could fit in with that clique. And again, that's part of that environment I'm talking about that shapes you. Right. So growing up in this little Iowa town, if I followed the exact same trajectory, and I don't mean this in a bad way at all, just comparatively to where my values are at and what's important to me, I know a lot of people that I was in high school with that haven't gone farther than that. That's where they are. Their thought processes hasn't expanded outside of that, even with things like the internet, right? There's so many things that you can experience now, but you're still seeing it in, like, even how you guys are seeing me right now, right? You guys can't smell me right now. I smell amazing. Just so you know, I got this Moldavite incense on in the room right now. It smells really good in here, but you can't experience that because you only have this screen and your micro, your headphones be able to hear me through the mic, right? So a lot of times when you read, you hear about these things online on a screen, you don't really understand the impact of what's happening, right? So that was where I mostly grew up, right? So since no one was allowed to play with me, yeah, Brian, right? You'd never think that at all. But if, some people, that's what they see. And a lot of times it's not even a direct thing. It's not even something they're doing on purpose. It's just that natural, like, I'm never looking for a cop to pull me over, but the moment I see them in my rearview mirror, I immediately get worried every single time. And not because I've had tons of terrible experiences. I have had terrible experiences, but because of the potential threat. Like, we just have those certain triggers. Again, not to justify them, guys, but the more we can understand the reasons that we have these triggers and what makes us respond to the things we respond to, the better control we can have over it. Right. So tonight on Alchemy 101, if you're just tuning in, we're just kind of going through the 38 trips around the sun that we're taught our age, which is a really weird thing. And we'll get into that. But yeah, right now. So imagine, so I'm in this little town, Cherokee, Iowa, right? Amazing history, amazing, like Native American culture. The Little Sioux River ran through it. I would be out along the riverside finding old bones and taking them to the museum thinking that they were dinosaur fossils and finding out they're bison and finding arrowheads. And I was always just this scientist and adventurer at heart. I wanted to know more. So I would be out in the middle of the woods in Cherokee, like studying plants and everything, and kids would ride through on their bike and then want to fight me. And I would have to do that and then get right back to my studies. So it was a funny thing because you see this in movies and stuff and find out like, man, people really go through this stuff. I remember like riding our bikes out in the middle of train trestles, right? Jumping 50 feet, wow, boom, into the river and then being stuck in mud and having to barely pull out in time. Just all these amazing but really different types of experiences that unfortunately these generations just won't ever have, right? So I'm in Cherokee, Iowa. My house is the Black neighborhood. So we had one really good friend, Casey Lilliflorn, amazing dude, still a really good friend of ours, that he still played with us. I honestly couldn't say, I don't remember that well how his parents were, but it was interesting to say the least. And Kenny, thank you for making it, man. Thank you for making it to the birthday special. Appreciate you, brother. And at one point, this other kid, right, Joe Sakula, I'll never forget this, guys. It's interesting. It's important you understand this because, again, we grew up in the church. And by that standard, I should grow up, stay on the farm, grow up, work at a little shop there somewhere. But usually that's that mindset is the same. No one really breaks that routine. So we definitely didn't want that to happen, for me anyways. But so I'm there, this new kid moves, Joe Sakula. And because, guys, this is back in I want to say 1992, as I was about 12. And his mom was one of these people way back then that was reading tarot cards, right? That was a psychic. Now, back then, you either wanted to talk to Miss Cleo, right? Or you thought they're crazy, or you thought they were a witch and they were coming for your soul. Right. And hopefully by now, most people that are on the show know how all that really actually works. But if not, it's OK. So because of his mom being this crazy, scary witch person, he wasn't really allowed to play with too many people either. So wouldn't you know it, we become the bestest of friends. And at one point, someday I'm over there hanging out and I think we're playing with the water hose in the back. You do this a lot, when you're in Iowa back in the day, get wet in the water hose. That's what you do. And I'm coming in to get a little freezy, right? Little ice pops for everybody. And his mom is sitting in there and asked if she could read my tarot. And I think, oh, this is going to be great, right? I'm a little kid. I've been studying, playing Dungeons and Dragons and playing video games. And tarot, that's great. Let's do it. And I remember her getting this different type of deck and pulls out a card and her eyes kind of light up and tells me that I have this really amazing, really intense past life history, whatever that is. And later on, this all makes sense. And potentially this huge future that could be why I'm here, Jade, hearts in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining the channel, brother. Love you. And then she gave me this box that I still have. I can't show it to you, unfortunately, but it's this amazing box. A couple of people that are in the channel have seen it. It's incredible. And there was a book in this box. And it really opened my eyes to magic and energy and what all these things really are, but back in a more archaic sense and less of what we understand now. But it still opened my eyes to all these different things outside of the church for the very first time. And everything in it was about love and harmony and symbiosis with the planet. And as I'm reading these things, I'm looking at this going, how could this be evil? How could this be such a wrong thing, right? Jada, it really is the best box. He's seen it. And it was just one of those things that for the first time ever, I was introduced to something outside of the program, right? And it was weird because it resonated so much better and made so much more sense and was so easy and clear and benevolent feeling, right? Like really good. So eventually I ended up having to get rid of the book because family's scared of the devil, though he's not a real thing. And I still end up keeping the box. But this was one of the first times that I personally had a type of supernatural, like really, really intense. I'm sorry, I won't get into on air, guys, but I love talking to people about it off air. Otherwise, can't be too crazy of a person. But really intense stuff, crazy stuff. Had this amazing supernatural experience. Told mom about it. Mom didn't really freak out, but thought that, enough is enough and you can keep the box, but not the book. And that's good. And that's fine. So now we fast forward. At this point, I had moved around to Florida, to Missouri, to Illinois, about 8 different high schools, right? Sometimes even just visiting friends, I would still go to their school just as I'd be with them for a while. And we never, knew where we'd be for sure for too long. And at one point, we end up moving to Arizona. And I find the Lord for real this time, right? Not the version where they tell you to go, right? Not the kind where you're forced to go, but the kind where a really hot girl from my high school invited me to go. So I wanted to meet the Lord. You know what I mean? And, it's what you do. And come to find out, I go up to the front and that whole getting slain in the spirit thing, boom, guys, I swear to you on everything. I was laid out on the ground, couldn't move, doing my best to fight it, everything, and had another supernatural experience. And in this moment, I'm laying there freaking out, and everyone in there is going, oh, it's Jesus. It's God. Jesus, he laid him out, Lord. Get him. Woo. Hallelujah. The whole everything, right? Ooh, sorry. It made me a little icky. Sorry. But anyways, and it was another experience I couldn't explain. And I said, well, this has to be real because I'm experiencing it. And I didn't know what it was, but all these people around me seem very sure that they know what it is. So I guess they must be right. And thank you for saving me, Jesus, and take the wheel, right? That's generally how it goes. And so now the hot girl from school was crazy excited because now I was born again. And my mom was all excited because she was seeing someone from the church, and God was just doing amazing things for her from all that crazy trauma and hurt and pain and everything we had before. And this was the first time it seemed like there was something wholesome and something real. And it was incredible. Right. And slowly but surely, the more you spend time with people or things or places, the more details that you start to see and the more information you start to have. And so the main church we went to had its own inner struggles or problems or whatever, however you want to say it, going on, right? So when I saw that within a church, right, and I know, don't blame the church for God. When you have people that are devoted to all these things and talking about these things, if that is real and as what they're breathing, like this is oxygen, there's not a version of non-oxygen that I'm breathing, right? So if this Bible thing and what I'm seeing at this first, if this is a real thing, then everyone should be on the same page, just like breathing, because it's the truth, right? So I see that and it starts putting some flags up for me, right? And at one point, a very good friend of mine, Gary, right? Quick with a K, not a CK, because it's quicker without a C, right? Funny guy, one of my favorite people. And so he started dating this girl who was a Wiccan, and it was her and her 2 friends, and they practiced pretty intently. And he knew about my 12-year-old experience that I had. Again, very supernatural, very intense stuff. And he asked me, he says, Halo, look, man, I don't mean like just with you, becoming a youth pastor and what you're doing at church, but I'm really terrified that if I break up with this girl, something bad's going to happen. So can you do some like protection spell, or can you do something from what you used to do back in the day and keep me safe? And I'm looking at him, and guys, I'm telling you, he is so serious. And he looks really scared, right? And so I'm like, yo, I got you. And I take this quarter out. I do this little thing on it. Bam, right? All innate. No idea what I'm doing, right? And it's important that I stress this innate, not knowing what I'm doing part, okay? And we'll get back to that. So I give him the quarter, and I say, don't show them and don't touch them with it, okay? Thank you, Gary. Thank you. Appreciate you, brother. Miss you a lot. So long story short, he ends up showing it to her. They freak out. They have heart failure. They get terrified, everything, and are even more panicked that I was the one that did it. and I apologize. And I say, sorry, I'm not going to do it again. And I felt really bad. And I felt so bad, like I was doing something bad to Jesus. So I said, I won't do it anymore. Quick. I'm out of there. I'm done. Now we fast forward a few months after this, right? And I was going through the Berean college and had led on how many kids to the Lord, been to Mexico by now a couple times, built some churches, all these things, multiple experiences. I'd been laying kids out in the Lord, all these things, right? Amazing stuff. And felt really, really good, as long as we got that 10% every Sunday, as long as that happens, then, whatever you need to hear, absolutely. But one of these girls ends up, and guys, if you don't believe this, don't subscribe. This is totally okay. I do my best to only share with you the experiences I've had in the way that I can remember them and contextualize them. So just work with me. I promise this amazing story. And this really, really did happen. I get a call one night that one of the girls out of that little Wiccan group was possessed, like the real deal. So my incense went out, don't mind me. Like the real deal, full on possession, right? And apparently they had even called one of the pastors over to try to depossess her and couldn't do it after a couple hours. And they tell the pastor to call me and Halo can come fix it. We don't know how, but he can come fix it. So yeah, it is, Jackie. Thank you. I got one of those green gems here that the green screen detects. So if it looks like I'm flowing, guys, it's just the magic of the green screen. But, I thought it'd be fun to do anyway. So yeah, more magical, you know how we do it. So I go over there. Again, guys, long story short, we can talk offline about the exact details, but I end up just doing something that came to my mind and literally pulled this thing out of this little girl. It was crazy, right? And put this thing on a door. And next thing you know, you cannot open the door no matter what you're doing, no matter what. Just wouldn't happen, no matter what. And so I'm going, man, what is this? Maybe there's got to be something to this, right? And I remember the same week, but yeah, so she ended up being okay and fine. Really, really weird stuff, guys, really weird. But how do you undo that experience, right? So after I saw that was my other flag. Like, well, I thought all things in Jesus' name flee and all this, and this pastor couldn't do it, and nothing was working here. But I just did it without any of that. What's going on now? If you guys are with me right now, either on Artist First or on Facebook Live, if you have not taken the time to do this, look up the show Zeitgeist. All right, it's a very old show, but right around this same time of this depossession thing, whatever you want to call it, I came across this show Zeitgeist, right? And it breaks down the falsity of the mainstream religions. It breaks down 9/11, and it breaks down the bank system, right? Which is incredible. And at that time, I didn't realize that was a synchronistic timing to help reawaken my being again back into divinity and get out of the matrix, the program, as I always call it. And so I watched this show Zeitgeist, and in this show, it talks about all these other solar messiahs that came long before Jesus, right? Now, if you've ever been on the show before, I'm huge on your research, right? You have to look this up. So I'm watching this show Zeitgeist like 120 sometimes. I pause it every time that they say something like, nope, that can't be real, and write it down and go online and find dozens of references for what they're talking about. And I go, man, this is real. That means this isn't real. And that means this isn't real. And holy shit. And why? And so then that took me way away from wanting to be religious, but then I wanted to start studying spirituality, right? And at this point, I'd long since graduated. I'd gone to school for Cody. Yeah, it is recorded. It's recorded. So in a cold feeling, I'm not sure what you mean by that, but go ahead. It's okay. It's a good thing. And so it was one of those things where I was like, wow, there's got to be something else. And so I'd been studying business by now. I'd studied psychology, audio engineering, video engineering. I started doing music. And as I started doing music, I started discovering the impact of frequency, right? The impact of vibration, right? Now this at the beginning part was with a producer's ear and really trying to create good music, right? Angie Dang just joined. What's up, Angie? So since she's a musician, I know that, just pointing out a musician, there's a very specific like sound harmony
cord. There's certain things that draw out certain emotions and certain ideas within the body. Okay. Now, it can be from a sound, but as I was doing my research, I came across Nikola Tesla's work. And then I started finding out more about resonant frequency and vibrations that you can't really hear, and ones that actually affect you even at a molecular level, right? And so after I started getting into physics and quantum physics, and then started really wanting to find out more about psychology and what made things work, I decided at one point that I wanted to become a life coach and teach people these amazing things that I had learned, right? Because again, guys, where I came from very low income place, violent house, waiting to get our food stamps, mom struggling, but I'm doing an amazing job loving us and taking care of us, grandparents that are just there for every single thing that we need. Meanwhile, not fitting in with the rest of the family, the town, the anything, really just going through it. And statistically, should have probably been in jail, shot, or, all those crazy, terrible things, right? So to come from all of those things and to be where I'm at now, I feel like every single person that's listening to me right now has a similar story like this, but we're not always going back and looking at the perspective of the aftermath, instead of going back and looking at what it actually could have created, right? So if I would have went back to the violence I saw and didn't get in my mind that I will never have that happen, I could have in turn ended up being another violent person. Right? If it didn't happen to me, I still have the potential of becoming a violent person, but it became the choice of seeing it, the choice of seeing the pattern and then choosing to let that be what the new legacy was going to be or not. Right? So after I started seeing those things and finding out like, man, I can change this pattern, right? I can implement some things in my life to make sure that my family never experiences this pattern, even though no one else in my pattern, before this, they never saw it, they never changed it, right? So that went from one positive, momentum force of that pattern, right? It was positive. Next family, violence, right? Next family member, violence. That was the positive direction it was going in. But I took that positive direction that seemed to be a fact and changed it into this other thing, right? A completely different thing. And the moment I saw that, I go, I wonder if you can do this to other things as well. And then I started finding out things about like The Secret and Manifest Destiny. And again, I'd already watched Zeitgeist, and I was wanting to go in and become, like I mentioned a minute ago, a life coach and start teaching other kids about this, especially kids that came from areas like I was at. And I did skip over a couple parts, but nothing super, super important. I ended up going to this school called SWIHA in Phoenix. It's the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts. It was a place that I found that would teach a life coaching course, right? And this is before I got into the metaphysics, but after I'd known about magic and Jesus and all these things, right? So hopefully so far you guys are with me. So I go to SWIHA, and it was just this amazing group of just really loving and positive people. There was a little bit more ego than I expected, knowing what I know now, but still just an amazing place. And afterwards, they let you go and sit with like someone from the field you want to go into. So afterwards, they did like a big open house. And if you wanted to go talk with a life coach, you go sit and they go through the little wheel so you can kind of see what it is that you're going to be learning to do. And it's a way for them to teach their students. It's brilliant. It's great. It's great hands-on learning and teaching at the same time. It was great. And as I'm going through that, the longest line that they have in the building is for this thing called Reiki. Okay. Now, if you're not familiar with Reiki, that's great, because I'm going to tell you the same thing that the person told me, and then you'll understand a huge transformational moment in my life. And it was very, very pivotal. And then we're going to backtrack to another really pivotal life of a semicolon moment I had in my life. So just stick with me for a minute, guys. So actually, let me have some more of this cider, right? Oh, it's good cider. It goes down smooth. It's wonderful. So, okay. So I'm at SWIHA, and there's this huge line going down the hallway. And I asked someone, what's this for? And they go, Reiki. And I go, for what? What's Reiki? And he goes, well, look, when you go to the chiropractor, they crack your back and your spine so everything is in alignment and everything circulates much better. And I go, yeah, of course. He goes, well, Reiki's like that, but it's for your spirit. And I go, oh, sure. Hey, happy birthday, Gordon. Happy birthday. Thank you. Guys, like I said, the cider, it's real. It's good. Thank you. Appreciate you. And so he says, yeah, it's like Reiki for your spirit. And I go, oh, sure. All right. And he goes, hey, man, look, I'm not trying to be a dick like you are, but there's a reason that this line is way longer than all the other lines here. And I look down the line and I go, oh, well, he's kind of got a really good point. So I eat the bullet, as it were, and say, man, I guess I'm just kind of maybe ignorant to this. Let's find out what it is. So I'm waiting in line and I'm talking to people and asking them. And as they're talking more and more about this, I'm like, energy, what's this energy stuff? And this is just this new age, blah, 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 blah. And I have all these really good preconceived notions of the bullshit that I'm walking into. That's what I'm thinking is happening. But as I'm watching these people all the way down the line, there's a chair that if anyone does not want to take the time to go inside and go through the full treatment, the woman that was running the entire workshop at the beginning, she was like doing Reiki treatments on people in the chair. So I'm standing in line, and you have to understand, I'm looking down the line and I see these people sit, right? And this is exactly what happens, guys. They're just sitting like this, and they're very relaxed and very like proper and just straight, and everything's in alignment. And I see this woman just put her hands on their shoulders. Right now, as she does this, you can physically see the person's entire body literally shift and change. And unless you see it, it's very difficult to really explain what it is that you're watching. But as I'm seeing this, part of my mind is going, is this a real thing? And I'm not thinking about from when I was 12 and this stuff from this magic book. I'm thinking, what is going on, right? And so I go in. I'll never forget. It was this little woman named Ayada. She was like in her late 60s. And long story short, folks, she took my migraine away. In less than 5 minutes of sitting on the thing, migraines that I used to get 3 to 4 times a week because I do not sleep. I was exhausted all the time. And so she took away every migraine that I had. I've not had a migraine since. And that was almost 13 years ago. Wow, that's crazy to me. And that was something I was consistently having all the time. And just like that, she took it away. And so at that moment, I was like, man, I need to study this. I need to find out what this is. Right now, at this point, guys, when I mentioned I had been sleeping, tonight's show is called Alchemy 101, the birthday special, 38 trips around the sun, because they say you're 38 years old every time that you've gone around the sun one time. That's your year. But it's 172 years and the life of the cosmos. And this is what I mean. So me being 38, right? And we'll come back to the Reiki stuff here in a second. So me being 38 means that if I'm the same as everyone else that's my age, that's 38, that I sleep 8 hours a day, right? And guys, this is an interesting thing, and I would love to do an entire show on this. So some people, most people, do this age thing based off of how many years that you've gone around the sun, right? But here's the thing: I don't sleep. Right. So work with me on this. I did the math in Excel. So I'm going to say this the best I can. But so if I'm getting 6 hours extra a day because I'm awake that much more, right, times 6 days a week, that's 42 hours a week, which is almost 2 days extra a week. Right. So that means that's 104 extra days for me in a year. And that's 3,952 days extra by the time I'm 38 to everyone else that's 38. That means I've been awake 11 years longer than everyone else that's 38. Right? Yeah, I think that's right. So that would be 49. So that's a way big different number, right? So in that amount of time, I've taken those extra 11 years of studying and research and going far beyond trying to break the norm and break the patterns the same way that I did from seeing just the way that my childhood was and the way that I was growing up to be able to learn to change those things. Right. So as I started really looking at and dissecting so many different things, like, man, I've been awake for this long and time doesn't really work this way. And Reiki is real and there's energy and there's fields and there's things that you can manipulate. And then What was the movie? There was a movie that came out, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, right? And Nicolas Cage said that it's both science and magic, and it's both. And it really made me laugh. And it was one of those epiphanic moments for me, especially after looking at Tesla's work, where they were considering him to be a wizard just because he had an advanced understanding of technology. And I said, I want to be a wizard. Just like when I was a kid. When I grew up, I want to be a wizard. That's what I want to do. And so as I was studying Reiki and learning to really, guys, I'm telling you, you guys got to look into this. Go watch your Zet guys. Go do your research. Go watch Spirit Science. Go do these things outside of the norm, right? You keep doing these same cycles, you'll never get outside of that bubble. You have to change and implement something different. You have to grow in ways that you wouldn't expect that you would grow. You have to look for things. Again, I say this on the show all the time, guys. Majority of the things that are in front of you right now at one point was considered to be impossible. So you will never break impossible until you realize I'm possible, and all of it is, because the chances of me being here is a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of some stardust from who knows how many billions of years ago, and then my consciousness decided to latch itself onto this right now. It's absolutely incredible. You cannot be bored in this life. You cannot not be excited about this life. And if any of those things are not for you, I'm telling you, just looking at the wrong things. Okay. So I'd mentioned there was a moment where there was a semicolon in my life. Okay. And you know, I don't need a bunch of tears and all that stuff. Just we're talking about growth right now. So it's important. Okay. So I was living in Kingman, right? Which is like a giant trailer, but it's interesting. Anyway, so I was there, and 6 trillion to 1 is the stat. Thank you, Cody. Thank you. That's 6 trillion to 1, the chances of me being here. But I know that I manipulated it. So I think my chances are a little bit higher than that. I made sure I was here this time for you guys. Okay. Don't worry about it. You know, we're here doing our work like always. You know what I mean? You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyways, so I was in Kingman, Arizona. I had a pretty good job at this little place called Hastings. I had people coming over to the house all the time. And it was one of these things where, like you see in movies, that moment when you wake up and everything around you is disgusting and you didn't know that it was, right? You've been living in this haze for so long because everyone loves you and everyone is really excited to see you and everyone wants to come to your house to party. And even though your house has been motel cocktail bombed by skinheads in town, and you call the police and they say don't have gang activity, and they burn stuff and you get evicted and just all sorts of crazy, as I'm telling you, crazy, insane things. And I got to this point one night where I was sure I was done. I was gonna end it, right? And we all, unfortunately, hopefully not all, but a lot of people go through this, and it's not really from anything that you guys are doing. It's not your fault. It's that we're in a very jacked up version of the world, not being explained that this is not how the world is supposed to be. So we get depressed and out of sorts because we're in the wrong type of program. And before I realized that that's what was going on, actually, even while I was in the church, you know, I was sure I was going to end it. I had the whole thing planned out. I was going to go to work. After work, that was it. No letter, no nothing. And that was it. Now, guys, I want to point this. It's very, very important that you understand this, because it was a pivotal moment for me. And hopefully this can help somebody. Okay. So even if you're not to that point, because you never know, man, it's a really interesting edge that creeps up on you really quick. Okay. And it's a real thing. It's unfortunate, but it is. So anyways, listen, this is what happened. So Kingman is like a giant dust bowl, right? And in order for me to get to work, I had to walk around the fairgrounds every day. Right. And I had been doing this for months, right? Months. I've been doing the same walk every single day, knew the time, everything. And the fairgrounds was this big, giant, just dust bowl of desert and cowboy boots to remind me of the rednecks that are there. Right. So I hated this walk every day, but I was going to work. I was still, you know, motivated, animated. Can't picture me not animated. But the day that I was going to do it, I was walking and I'm talking to God, like, God, give me a sign. Right. This is back when I was still in there with the J man. Right. Good guy, buddy Christ. Anyways, he's not answering as I'm talking. And I'm like, you're going to give me any type of sign? Because if not, I'm going to come find you tonight and we're going to have a very serious talk. And a lot of people I know are probably going to be upset with you for making me do this. You got no sign at all, nothing, no. And I'm walking around the edge and I'm about to take a turn around this corner, right? And again, do this walk all the time, looking at the dirt, looking at the sand, just irritated, hating life, really, really hating it. and disappointed, probably more than hated. And as I put my hands up and I'm like, no sign, nothing, looking up. I'm like, all right, universe, how about you? Anything? No? All right. And I hang my head down in despair and disappointment. As my head falls to the ground, guys, out of my peripheral vision to the right, I saw the most amazing, beautiful, like royal purple flowers amongst all these weeds that was in this big patch in the corner, right? And I mean, there was dozens of these just tiny little, I used to know the name of them once upon a time, but still to this day, that color purple is my favorite color. And what I realized in that moment, I started bawling my eyes out. I was late to work. And it dawned on me in that very moment that I've been looking at all the desert and all the dirt and all the terrible things. And that's what I was focusing on. So that's all that I was seeing. But in that moment of looking for anything else, please show me anything else, I was able to see this amazingly beautiful, life-giving thing in the desert that was there the entire time. It'd been there every single day. And I've been so focused on the negative and so focused on the woe is me, I didn't realize there was this amazingly beautiful thing right there every single day to greet me. And in that moment, I realized that all these things I've been stressing out about and worrying about and considering, they're outside forces that are doing them, and people are jerks and whatever. But my perception, it gets to make the decisions, and my understanding gets to be what's real to me. And in that exact moment, guys, I'm telling you on everything, my entire life just changed. And I decided that I would not look at any of the negative things. And it's not that I'm ignoring them or pretending they're not real, because I still get pissed off and I still get irritated and I still get upset. But understanding where those things come from and understanding how to control those triggers and how to turn them into a fuel, like a catalyst that will launch you into other planes of existence that you did not know were there. Like, that's what you have to do with every single moment that you have, right? These moments are things you cannot get back. Now, guys, think of this for a second. A minute ago, I was breaking down all that extra time, right? 11 extra years that I've been awake compared to everybody else. That's my age, right? And really a lot more than that. Just when you put in account astral projecting and dimensional, I mean, there's a lot of things out there, again, for other shows, but when you leave this plane, right? When you sleep and you dream, that's your untrained accidental version of astral projecting, right? Get into that and check it out. But when you learn how to purposely astral project and you can leave, when you leave, the time that you spend in these other planes, these other realms, are exponential compared to the amount of time that you spend here. Right. So, an hour here could be weeks, months in these other places. And you don't always get to remember and talk about the things you get there, but you have answers when you need them, and you have an understanding of things that you did not have before. Yeah, you're welcome, Marissa. You're welcome. Yeah, like I said, hopefully that story helps somebody. And it was just interesting to see that decision changed so many other things. And after that, there was a catalytic effect in every moment that I had of which emotion is going to win right now. Is it going to be the worry and the despair of the things that are not real? Because that's the other thing, guys, when we talked about at the beginning, the multiverse, right? All these things here, right? All these different potential outcomes, they're all based off of the decision. But until you make the decision and you go through the action, you're not in any of those places yet. So none of them are real. So in all the new moments of what to do or what not to do, it simply came down to, which reality did I want to put my time and energy into? Did I want to think about the despair and the fear and the worry? Or did I want to look at things of knowing that I'm divine and knowing that everything is working in my favor and knowing that all the greatest things are coming to me? Because neither one of those are real, but the one that I put my thought and my energy and my my being, my essence into, that reality has a much higher chance of becoming a real thing, right? So now I've started going through my growth and going through all these things. I had already been married one time to my high school sweetheart, and I was doing my music. My music was way more important at the time. I didn't realize that, but anyways, it didn't work out. I was doing some things, and guys, this is important, because the synchronistic events that happen, right? When I married my first wife, my current wife almost came to my wedding, even though I did not know her, didn't know about anything like that. But she was a friend of someone that was coming to my wedding, which is just a weird thing. So she was already in my orbit and was already in my path for me to meet. I just didn't know how or the why or anything. But fast forward to after I was divorced and so on, when I did meet her, the connection and the understanding and how important a person that she would be, I just knew. I already knew, right? There was a way of knowing without knowing. Last week on my show, I was talking with Intellect from New Age Politics, right? In New Age Politics, amazing hip hop music, guys. If you're on artistfirst.com, it's okay. You want to pause the show, look up on any major platforms, New Age Politics, Demigods, my people. Please check them out, support them. But I was talking with him, and one of the things that we were talking about was manifestation, right? And synchronicity, and how just weird, different little things will happen, right? Even when I was interviewing them for their album coming out, it was weird that they unknowingly had made music about the sun and the moon oppositely, but jointly at the same time. And it was one of these just interesting synchronistic events that if you're not looking for, you don't know it's there. And so we were just talking about that a little bit on the last show. But when you notice that there's a pattern and you know that it's coming, you can actually learn to manipulate that pattern. And you can learn to go, oh man, when I was a kid, every time that I saw that type of bike, it was always with this type of kid, and they were always jackasses. So every time I see that bike or someone like that, I immediately, it triggers, they're probably a jackass. Now, you can maybe be accurate with that, unfortunately, and there's certain hairstyles, and it's getting pretty real out there these days. But you can learn to take those preconceived triggers that you have and switch them over to something else, right? So imagine that every time you see the person at work that irritates you, that you rewrite that trigger, right? Now, the reason I talk about this in my birthday special is at one point I realized that, man, I've been awake longer than everybody else, right? So what else can I figure out about that? And I go all the way back to that trauma I was talking about at home when it was within the household, right? And I said, man, I remember just hearing this sound would really make me really, really scared. And so I went online and I found a audio clip of that, and I played it over and over and over and over and over, and kept making myself laugh through it. And it was a really weird and a very awkward process, and might not have been something I should have done. But now when I hear it, it's one of the greatest sounds to me, and gets me very excited. And I have all these amazing remembrance of my childhood, not the bad, scary stuff. In fact, I'm great friends with everyone in my family now. I chose to forgive and move forward and use it as a learning experience. And I wish everyone else had that ability to do that. And maybe people have had way worse than me, or maybe not as bad. But at the end of the day, guys, we have to understand that we all go through whatever our environment is going to put on us. Right now, you can choose to let that environment to just bury you, right, and crush you and make you part of the environment, right? That's unfortunately what happens to so many people, because if no one's told you you are an amazing individual, right, you're capable of every single thing that you've ever wanted, but you have a bunch of people that never were brave enough to take the steps of what they could do to fulfill their own dreams. And because of that, they're scared for you. Right. And it's okay. That's what happens. But when they get scared for you and you tell people about these accomplishments, these things that you want to do, that fear and that vocalization of that fear will co-create against you. Right. So this is one of the things, guys, with everything, with Mistech, with my music, with so many different things. I try to have a partner. Right. And I love every partner I ever had, and I appreciate them for the growth and the things they taught me. But all of them didn't work out. Right. And it was because even though we have similar ideas, and guys, even I'm talking about this for you too, at home, with your family, with your wife, with your husband, with your kids, you might have similar ideas to what your vision is, right? Not the dream. I don't want you guys to have a dream. Be awake. The dream, you got to be asleep for that, right? So have a vision, right? Now, with this vision, the more people that you tell that are also awake and can see the vision, they will co-create with you. It will make it tangible, make it real. And with all these shifts we've been having within the ether and with the new 5D, all these things that are happening, co-creating is at an all-time high. So that means you need to embrace each other. You need to love each other. You need to tell each other happy birthday every day. Like I always say, every day should be celebrating your birthday. It's new today. It's a brand new one. It just happens to be my solar version today. But I don't know, guys. I think all the bad things that you've gone through were worth it. I do. I'm sorry if that upsets you or offends you in any way, because I don't mean it in that way, but I think it was good for you, because it hopefully taught you something, allowed you to grow. You know, these 38 years for me have just been exceptional, you know, learning about organite, right? Or man, this stuff, guys, the things that you can learn in just a week is exceptional. Imagine if you took a month. Imagine if you took a year. Imagine if you took 11 years to learn all the things that are real, not the things that are told to you, right? Not researching someone else's research, right? This is a very big, important thing I want to stress to you right now. Reading someone else's research is not research, okay? That's studying someone else's research. Go out and live life. Go out and experiment. Go out and try the impossible. Go out and break this world, break the rules, break all of them, because you have that in you, right? If you have people that tell you anything other than that, you know, love them, do the best you can to work with them, but distance yourself, or at least don't share your plans with these people, because you never know what can happen to you in an entire year, right? And in your year can be as long or as fast as you want it to be. I think most of us would agree that this last year has been going really, really, really fast, right? I feel like we just had Thanksgiving, we just had Halloween. You know, I was just both. I am, but for with the costume though. And so here's the thing, guys, when you're looking at your time, it's happening very slow, like this, right? Right? Because see, you're looking at it, right? Now, when you're not looking at it, it's going like this, and it's flying past you at 100,000 miles an hour. And so all these things are going past you all the time. This multiverse that's right here. Any one of these things could be your outcome, any one of them. But you have to keep looking at it, and you can't get distracted by all the other little shinies. It's very easy to do, especially in 2018. And in 2019, it's just going to keep getting worse. We got a lot of shiny stuff to look at, right? All you need to do to be able to unlock your higher, true, woke self is pick out the version of you that you want to be and turn your blinders on so nothing else exists but that. It will create a tunnel that will block out probably 3/4 of the people in your life, right? And I'm sorry to say, Jesus might be one of them. I'm sorry, but maybe not. Maybe he'll stick around. You know, you never know. But the people that are there are gonna be the people that are there for your highest good, right? There might be a job opportunity or even a current job that doesn't fit within that bound. And I'm sorry that it might upset your family or your spouse, but if it doesn't feel right, then it's probably not really for you either. And I'm not saying go out and quit your job tomorrow or anything, but start really assessing the important things, guys. I'm telling you, the 172 years I've been in this cosmos, change is the only thing. Alchemy, it's the only thing that's real. Everything else you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose everything, and you need to understand that, but be okay with it, because you're not really losing it. You're having it for the time that you have it, and you're getting the experience and the joy and the pain and the growth, right? That growth is something that you need, and everything that is massive and everything that is powerful and everything that is electric takes a lot of struggle, a lot of energy, a lot of time to become that ultimate powerhouse that it needs to be, that you need to be, right? So dig your feet in for the long haul and focus on what's going to make it so next year for your birthday that you can be on a show somewhere, that you can be in a place talking to people about what an amazing life that you've had and how many people that you've been able to help and how amazing of a family that you have and the places you've seen. And I mean, guys, what's important to you, right? But really to you, not the flashy materialistic stuff, right? How many times do you get to hold your kid? You know, how many times did you hear them laugh and teach them something? And if you haven't done any of those things, I implore you guys, like, spend this next year. You know, 2019 is right around the corner. Make a game plan on your own personal growth. You know, put together a chart. You know, I've offered this many, many times. Reach out to me if you have any questions about any ideas, excitement, struggles, whatever it might be. You know, I'm going to be around quite a few more rotations around to help you guys with just that. So guys, thank you for joining me on my birthday. I didn't cover everything I wanted to, but I think I covered enough. I think we had a really good time, and everyone that showed up in the channel, all my family, thank you guys so much. My wife, I love you. My beautiful kids. Next week, guys, I am going to have Amante on again. So you'll have the mini wizard on talking. Again, all shows are archived on artistfirst.com. You can get the rest of the videos on orderofalchemy.org. And if you have not gotten yourself some Mystech yet, guys, I'm telling you, this frequency stuff, you need to check it out. Go to mystech.net. Man, thank you guys again for staying with me for my birthday. Love you. I'll see you next week. Have a good night. And let's try to be better humans. I'll see you guys.